Nice to have you again. And today we're going to have an exciting moment on understanding some of the SQL syntax. But today I'm going to work more on select statements, and which is more of the introduction into SQL. So without much ado, the prerequisite that you have to follow this course properly is for you to have your Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, because I'm going to work on that platform. Anyways, yeah, some of us, you can also use your MySQL, or you can also use your Postgres. It doesn't really matter what you're using. So now you can open your Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and then you can now connect to your studio. So you'll see that in my studio, I'm already connected now, and you can see that I already have the database I'm going to use. And there are also some databases that I created there, but never mind. But the first thing that you're going to see here is that you're going to see the Adventure Works. So I'm going to use the Adventure Works 2017, and then you also have the Adventure Works DW 2017. So if you have not installed that yet, you can go to my video on how to install or how to import Adventure Works 2017 into your Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. This is our Object Explorer. Okay, for those of you who are new to the Management Studio. So at the top menu, you can see the file, you can see the edits, you can see the view, the tools, the windows, and then the help button or the help menu. So, but nevertheless, I'm not going to go into that now because I just want to go straight to my teachings. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is this. You see that you have the different, what's it called? The different database here. So if you expand these Adventure Works that we're going to use, you'll see that in the Adventure Works, you also have database diagram, data tables, views, and synonyms, programmability, service, and more. But we're going to talk about all this later. So if you look at the tables, because it's also good, the first thing that you always do once you have your database is to understand the table. It's very, very important. And most of the time, I always encourage people to have what they call data dictionary. So it makes you to understand what is going on. So if you look at the table carefully, you see that you have different tables in the Adventure Work database. All right. So you have what you call the human resource department. So you can expand, and then you can see the columns from the different tables. But we are going to look at, today we're not going to work with all the tables now because it's just the beginning. So we're going to look at maybe human resource employee table, all right, in your Adventure Work. So try to have that ready. What I mean is that just understand that that's what we're going to use. All right. So now let's go. So you click on new queries. So let's say, and SQL is quite interesting. Okay, now once you click on the new query, you see that the query editor will open up. And then the first thing you have to know is this. If you look at it here, you have the master, all right. And if you click on the drop down button, you see that you have the different database that we have here. All right. So now I said I'm going to work with the Adventure Works 2017. Please, not the Adventure Works 2017 DW. So in that case now, for example, I'm working on select statement today. As I said, I'm going to work on what they call select statement. So if I'm working on select statement, all right. So you can see that what I just did here first is that I just put a comment here so that you know what I'm going to work on. All right. And you can also see my numberings and so that you know at what line, in case you want to ask any question. So now if I run this, if I execute this kind of statement, now look at what is going to happen. Because it is, what's it called? Because it is a comment, so there's not going to be any problem with it. You know, the command will be completely executed successfully. So now let's say select. So we want to say select now this sign stands for all. Okay, the asterisk sign, it stands for all in SQL syntax. Okay, select all from, now we'll say human. Now you see there's going to be a problem. You see that I like to use IntelliSense most of the time because it fastens your work. Okay, But now you see that I want to get human resource employee table, but it seems not to be there. So what some people do is this, is that I'll tell you something, why it's not there for the now. Um, you see this human resource employee. So I can just drag it. I can click on it and drag it and put it there. All right, the human resource employee. Now, but if I run this line of code, now what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to highlight this line and then run it. Now, definitely, I purposely did this. I like to do that because when I started learning SQL, I had all those problems. All right, because I was just running my code and I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, hey, what's going on here? So, but until later on, I just had to really understand. Most of the time I like to fix my issues with errors. When I have errors like this, I just know, okay, it said invalid object name that's not there. Which is strange. The reason is this because I'm using a master database. I'm not using the right database here. So please take notes once you start running your SQL command, that you're going to experience something like that if you're not using the right database. So you can now set this one to the right database by clicking on the AdventureWorks 2017. So the other way some people do it is that they can just use AdventureWorks 2017, and then it will now automatically show up. So now, if I do this now, I am saying select all. So if I run this line of code, you see that it's going to display, all right, select everything from this human resource employee table. All right. So in reality, I don't need actually this open close bracket. It's not really needed. If I just run it like this again, for example, I say select, all right, all from now human. Now you see that by default now, you see that the IntelliSense is now working because it's already pointing to my AdventureWorks. Okay, so you can see that my human resource will just show up. So, but please, if you have not set up your IntelliSense, please try to do that because it's very important. It makes your work to be faster. You can also click here. You say IntelliSense, and then you enable it here. All right, you can do it from here. So now you can say human resource. Now, if I write human, so it helps me not to make spelling errors, because human resources, all right, then dot employee, you understand now? So if I click on this employee table here on dot employee, then I have to highlight it or select, and then I execute or run it. So I'm going to get the same thing. So in this case now, like I said, the star here, sorry, or the asterisk, so to say, it helps you to select everything. Just think about select all. All right. Now, but I want you to understand something about select statement. Like I said, it's just more or less like what you call simple algebra too. You can, you have some synonyms, for select. I can say display. I can say, show, so to say. But I'm not saying that you have to write display here. But what I'm trying to say is this. Look at it. For example, I say select, I just say 1 plus 1. Or 1 plus 2. Let's see what is going to happen. And if I select 1 plus 2 and I run it, you see I'm going to get 3. These are not straight. I say select 7 plus 6, and I run this. Just look, if I run it, it's going to give me 13. So that is just acting as though it is more like calculate, or but in this case, in SQL syntax, what we're trying to say is that display something for us. Okay, so now just for you to understand, so so let me run this again. So once I run this, now you see that you're going to have this. All right, so it shows everything. So please don't forget, what is very important too is for you to always put a kind of what do you call a comment by the side, so that you know what the signs, the symbols that you are using, what it means. For example, I told you that this has to stand for all. It means all. All right. So now we've selected all from the human resources. Okay, that's just the simple select statement. So now let's look at how we can select just one or multiple columns also, so that we can see our result properly. So now the first thing you have to understand is that you look at the what's it called? You could look at the columns, okay, of this table properly, you know you have your rows and your column because the table is made up of rows and columns. So when you look at it carefully, you see that you have what you call the business identity ID. I will come to that later. All these are what you call the keys, okay? The primary keys and the secondary keys, okay? Or the primary keys and the foreign keys. All right. So, but in this case now, I think this is just the primary key, but don't worry about that for the now. Then you can see that in these table, you have different columns. You have marital status, you have gender, you have what's it called again? Salaries, salary flag, and vocation hours. So now, what we're going to do is that we're going to select one column and just see what we're going to have. So I'm going to say select job title, all right, from human resource employee table. So the next one is that I'm going to say select, or I'm going to write select, we want to say job title. Now, like I told you, I try to avoid mistakes, because sometimes, we're human, so we are vulnerable to mistakes, typing error. So let me give you one trick that you can use. So what I do is this. First and foremost, I just put select from all right? I can now say from human resource so that the intelligence will show dot employee, all right? So afterwards, I remove the or. The reason is that because I want the intelligence to show, all right? I must also put the asterisk there. I can just say select from, so that now when I use I want to write the job title. Look at what is going to happen. You see, job title. So the intelligence will show and it will display the job title. So I just need to click and that is all. Because if I want to type, I may make some mistakes, So now if I run that, I'm going to have, if I execute this now, you see that it's just giving me the job title. So this is just the way to select a single column from a table using the SQL syntax. All right. So the next one I'm going to do is that I'm going to select multiple columns. Okay. So you can select 2 or 3. It doesn't really matter. So now let's look at the table again. We select. All right. Let's look at the table so that we know what we want to select. Select all. I can just run this, don't worry. So you can just rerun this again so that you see the table carefully. So if you run this, so now in this case, now we want to select what you call the business entity ID, the job title, and the gender. So we want to see the business entity ID, the job title, and the gender. So in this case, now we are selecting multiple columns, all right, from this table. So we're going to say select, all right. So like I told you, if I say business, you see, it's not able to pick it up because it does not really know the table that you want to select from because, there are so many tables in this adventure work. So it doesn't really know. So that's why I prefer, or, what I do, I will just write from the table first from human resource, you see, the intelligence is working fine, dot employee. So it is always better for me like that. Okay, select that from that. Okay, so now what are the tables that I want? I want the business. You see, now I write business entity, so I can now click on this. Then I fix it in business entity ID, and I want job title. I click on write job. You see, job title. Then I now write the next one is going to be my gender. So my gender. Okay. And I also want to tell you here that actually it's not really case sensitive like other programming language, and it's just simple. Even if you use small letters or capital letter, it doesn't really matter. It will still work for you. Okay. So now if I run this line of code, you see that I'm going to get these 3 columns that I just selected now. So I'm going to have business entity ID, the job title, and the gender. So that means you can select a single column, you can select multiple columns, and you can select all the columns. So if you enjoy this video, like I said, please do not forget to like or subscribe to our channel because you're going to see more and more will come.